Welcome to part one of effective communication. In this session, I'm going to talk to you about the structure of communication. And in the follow-on session, we'll talk to you about how we apply communication in terms of our body language and tone of voice. So just think about how important communication is. Think about how important it is to communicate effectively. It is one of the most powerful tools that you and I have. It's how we get what we most desperately want in life: a job, a funding for a project, a husband or a wife. But have you ever stopped to think about how do you structure your communication? You see, we very seldom do this because we've been taught to speak at a very young age. We've been taught to write at a very young age. But in order to be effective at communication, we need to think about how we structure our communication. And the way we structure our communication is by, firstly, thinking about our intent. Second piece is around beliefs. And lastly, our data. You see, the way that you and I have been taught to communicate is around the data. So when we've been asked about a presentation or we want to write an email, we go and we start to put our thoughts on paper. However, if you start off with intent, it creates direction for you. What is the call to action? Your intent is around, what do I want people to do, say, what do I want them to walk away with? Once you set your intent, we then go to the beliefs. In order to get them to do what I need them to do, what do I need them to believe? How do I get them to believe what I need them to believe in order to follow through on my intent? And the last piece then is the data. What information do I need to give them in order to believe what I need them to believe and to do what I need them to do? You see, data, according to this framework, is the least important. Not because it doesn't help you communicate, but because without the structure, it has no meaning and your script becomes flimsy. Let's talk about emails from a career point of view, from a professional point of view. Think about it. When was the last time you received a poorly written email? You might have had reread it several times, had to go back to the main points, not understanding what the call to action is, where the message is all scattered, spending time back and forth. You know, the worst scenario that you could potentially have is that you respond to an unnecessarily long email, but not get what you need. And the way we need to look at emails is look at a structure. Look at what is the structure of the email. And if we look at how we structure our email, we look at what is the subject line? Because your subject aligns to the intent. Okay. What we need to do, what are you asking me to do, and the information that I want. Then we go to the opening, and that's our general greeting. Be friendly. If you go back to our series on interpersonal skills and look at that, it's about how do we form connection. And then we go to the body of the email. Now, most of us spend a lot of time with the body of the email. That's where our thought processes go in. I'd like to say to you, spend twice as long in terms of your thinking process on the subject line, because that gives me the information in terms of what you want me to do. Think about how many emails you get in a day and how you choose and prioritize your emails. It's based on the subject line. So your subject line is the most important part of your email. Then the greeting, and then the body of your email. When it gets to the body of the email, we often write the context first because we've been taught to be friendly and to be engaging. But often, our message gets lost. So the way to write an email is to have the call for action first. And then you provide the context. So people don't have to read unnecessarily long emails in order to understand what you want from them. You see, once you have the call to action, then I have the choice as to whether I want to understand why you're asking me to do what you're asking me to do. And then we get to the closing. And the closing in itself is just a friendly goodbye to show that we're interacting and we're professional in the way that we do it. But your closing has to be in context to what you're doing, the environment. You know, if you're writing an email to a friend, then to say, cheers, love, whoever, is fine. But when you're in a corporate environment, when you're in a professional environment, kind regards or best regards, and your name. That's how we come across as effective communicators. And to recap, always the intent, and if you're writing emails, that's your subject line. The beliefs, what I need you to believe in order to follow through on the intent. And to close off then, how do I use supporting data in order to get you to believe what I need you to believe and to do what I need you to do? Thank you for taking the time to watch this recording on effective communication. We're looking forward to having you back for part 2, where we talk about body language and tone of voice in order to be an effective communicator.